So I got one of our lads to make a few jingles, and he's just a really funny sort of like poet sort of guy. And he's like, they're just like really cheesy, nonsensy stuff. So I should have played you a couple of those.
This is genuinely terrible, and I apologise.
That's like an early sort of like 2004, 2005 detective show from America. I love it.
It's absolutely class. I don't know whether I love it or hate it, but I think a bit of both. Delighted to be joined by David Mooney of the Blue Moon podcast. How are you, David?
I am good, thank you very much. I have just walked off a football pitch. I'm giddy as hell, and we won, which is a rarity. So it's been a good evening.
I say it's a rarity for City this season as well.
Yeah.
What's happened?
They all got old, injured, and fatigued, and then nobody really noticed. And then at the end of it, everyone's gone, "Oh yeah, they're all really old and can't run anymore." That's funny. Funny how it drops off when that happens. And that genuinely is like the long and short of it. They obviously lost Rodri quite early in the season, and that isn't the entire problem, but it's left a massive gaping hole. And they, in trying to plug that hole up, it's kind of like in cartoons when like something's leaking and they put a finger in one like hole to plug it, then another one springs. They keep kind of plugging it with like 5 or 6 different body parts. It's been like that all season, and when you get like that, there's been no cohesion, no kind of momentum, and then the one thing that a Guardiola team does or can do in order to, when things aren't going well, is they just keep possession and keep the ball, and they've not even been able to do that. So they keep so in trying to solve the problems by keeping possession, they give it away and concede more goals. So it's been this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And when you have kept the ball, it looks like you've got no bite going forward either. So
there's no that you can't. As soon as you start to take a risk, then everything just becomes far too open, and kind of like it just leads the other team to play right through them. And the weird thing is you don't really know what City you're going to get. Like the City that played Newcastle was fantastic. It was probably the best performance of the season. A week later, and the one against Liverpool and the one in Real Madrid was, I mean, bang average to awful. Like, take your pick.
I hate to say it, but beating Liverpool isn't for everyone.
No, it isn't, is it? No. I mean, to be fair, like it's mildly annoying that you've had one crack at it and done it, given that City have played them home and away this season, lost them both. And like they were 2-0 each time, but both times City got absolutely battered. And like this, the second one's a weird one because City had all the ball, but like they just didn't create anything. And for years, Liverpool have been like less so at the Etihad, but City have won 2 games at Anfield in the Premier League. One of them was behind closed doors, which I mean apparently doesn't count because there's no fans there. But like, it feels like it should count to me, but apparently it doesn't count. And then the other one was in 2003, and it's kind of like Kevin Keegan was the City manager. Nicolas Anelka played for City. It's like all of the players that played in that 2003 team have now retired. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah, that's mad. I didn't even realise that you've only had 2 wins there. That's incredible. Obviously, the Liverpool team that played us was slightly weaker than the one that played you, just slightly. What can we expect from your lineup on Saturday? Are there any names that we may not have heard of that might be in there?
Really not sure. Because this is a bit of a coin toss now. Because City are not going to get any silverware unless it's the FA Cup this season. I think it's probably fair to say they're out of the Premier League title race at this stage. I mean, stranger things have happened, but I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head. I mean, it would be funny as hell if that, it would be a disaster for all the people. If City were to go on to win the league this season, it would be a disaster for all the people who turn around and say, "Well, we can't compete with City because you could have done, lads. It's been a terrible City team this season." So they're not going to win the league. They're obviously out of everything else. So FA Cup is the way to go for silverware. They have to be careful with their league position because they kind of need to be in the Champions League again next season. I mean, obviously, charges pending. Don't know what's going to happen with that.
Just a small little elephant in the room.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's one of those things that it's like, oh yeah, that might happen as well. But like innocent until proven guilty. We find out what happens hopefully in the next few weeks. Actually, so we should have an answer by then. Again, barring any appeals, so maybe not. So they need to make sure they're certainly in the top 4, maybe the top 5 for next season, and it's really tight around the top of the table. So they're going to have to balance up. Kind of what the run of fixtures is appalling as well. They've got like pretty much everybody that will likely run straight through the middle of them in the next few weeks. They play Bournemouth, Brighton, Spurs. We're talking before Spurs, but they'll have played Spurs by the time they get to the Plymouth game. So literally every team that could just run straight through the middle of them is coming up, and that doesn't particularly breed confidence right now. So it could be a difficult run, and so you kind of get into that mode of, lads, it is Plymouth, so they are in the bottom 3 in the Championship, so you should win this. But at the same time, you don't want to underplay. You don't want to play too weak because you don't want to kind of take the risk too much. And I mean, it's entirely feasible that Kevin De Bruyne doesn't play. And he doesn't play because he isn't fit enough to play, and he's not the Kevin De Bruyne that he used to be. That he's actually not selected on merit rather than not selected on being rested. But there's also a chance that Haaland is touch and go for the Spurs game, so maybe he'll be fit, and maybe some of these players need to play for rhythm as well to be able to be ready for future games. I expect City to go fairly strong. I also expect maybe 1 or 2 of the kids in there. There's a chance that it's kind of a mixture too. I think there's a lad called Nico O'Reilly who has been impressive when he's played in the cup games this season. I'd like to see him in there again, and I think that like little things like that, a bit of cohesion, because the defense has been largely decimated with injuries this season. And if you can give some of them some rest, then you take the chance that you might get knocked out. But at the same time, actually, you can't keep asking players like Nathan Ake and Ruben Dias, who have been injured and then fit and then injured, then fit, then injured, then fit, to keep coming to the well and not risk injury again. So it's a tough one. I think it'll be fairly strong, but maybe not full strength.
Yeah, I say looking at the team that you put out against Leyton Orient, there's a few kids in there, but they're more than capable. Rico Lewis he's all right, isn't he? Really?
Yeah, he's been a bit off form this season, but he actually played quite well against Liverpool. So I felt a little bit sorry for him in that performance, because he was asked to do a lot, and the new signings as well. So Nico Gonzalez needs to get more cohesion in the team and get minutes. Marmoush has looked good since he's come in. I'm quite impressed by him. And I mean, the one to look out for is the centre half Kusanov, because if he plays him, somebody will get clattered. He's just a clumper. He just runs. There was a couple of challenges against Salah this weekend just gone, where I was like, if you did not get that ball, somebody was losing a limb. You know what I mean? Is
that the new? It's not Ukrainian, is it?
No, Uzbek from Uzbekistan. Yeah.
The guy that looks permanently sad looks like he burst into tears at any second.
Yeah, but I also, because they may also play the other defender they brought in, Vitor Reich. He's a Brazilian lad, but he's the tallest and thinnest man I've ever seen. It looks like like in a cartoon. When I've referenced cartoon, I don't watch cartoons exclusively, but I've referenced cartoons twice tonight. Like when they're like 2D, but they turn side on and then disappear. It kind of makes me think like that will happen to him. If you get that, if he turns his body the wrong way, he just becomes 2D. It just seems the thinnest person I've ever seen.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So, what are your expectations of us? Because we've just recorded for your pod, but I can't imagine yourself or many City fans know much about Miron Muslic's Plymouth Argyle, especially now that Wayne Rooney isn't our manager. So what are you expecting from us on Saturday?
Yeah, well, now you've been freed of the shackles of such an evil man. I imagine City fans are quite fond of Plymouth. The thing is, there are very few. I don't think there's a weird relationship I have with a lot of teams, and Plymouth I see as a team that actually I'm really excited to play because, like, in my lifetime, there's not been that many meetings between City and Plymouth. In fact, the last couple, I was like 18 months old. So it's like I'm like I've never seen it happen and been aware of it.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember that. No, as it happens. I mean, City are on a 5-game winning run against Plymouth. I don't remember any of them. They're all in my lifetime. So it'd be nice to see it extended to 6 and actually get to see one this time. But in terms of like rivalries and things like that, I hold grudges against very peculiar teams for City because there's obviously like Liverpool, Arsenal, United. People expect that. You wouldn't believe that I hate Ipswich Town to the guts, like just because of like a couple of promotion seasons in 99-2000 and a relegation season in 2000-2001. Sunderland, absolutely despise Sunderland because of continually going to the stadium and like losing 1-0. Despise Wigan Athletic. They do horrible things to City in the FA Cup, even to this day. Like, so these sorts of rivalries kind of like sit and fester. And so, like, the good thing when we drew Plymouth was kind of like I've not got any reason to hate these yet. So let's see if we can find the yet then. And if there's a reason to hate you at the end of the game, then it means you've probably done quite well. So let's see how it goes. I'm kind of hoping for like if you play like you played against Liverpool again and defend really strongly and pose a threat on the counter attack, then there is a danger there. I'm not gonna gaslight anybody and say that City are particularly worried about playing this game. This looks like for City this season. This Plymouth game looks like a real nice oasis in a run of games that look really difficult. So I've just pulled the fixtures up. After Plymouth, they go away to Nottingham Forest, then they have Brighton at home, Leicester at home, which is again quite a nice one. Manchester United away, which feels like it should be quite nice, but the way City are playing at the minute, not sure. Crystal Palace at home, which could be tricky. Everton away at Goodison, new manager, they're playing really well, should have beaten United. And then Aston Villa at the Etihad. And then the season kind of comes to an end with all the relegation fodder at the end of the season. So it's kind of like this Plymouth game kind of like feels like we might see City win for the last time in 8 weeks. So there's like don't get too many ideas above your station because we kind of might need this win.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully, I'm just praying that you don't batter us. Personally, but yeah, just having a look on Transfermarkt. According to this, I don't know how true that is though. You're actually unbeaten against us in the last 8.
Oh, the last 8.
7 of the last 8. No, 6 of. Sorry, you won the last 6. A 1-1 draw in 1974 in the League Cup.
Yeah,
and then you beat us in the
return leg. Yeah,
I don't even know what that badge means. You beat us in some competition in 1965. So you're doing quite well. I just find it really funny that your most valuable player is 200 million and ours is 3.5, which even just saying 3.5 just sounds. There's no way he's worth that. So
this is the thing. City fans get a little bit upset when like Match of the Day or Sky Sports or whatever says, and the cost of City's bench is this amount. Yeah. And I'm kind of like, well, yeah, and like it is. So like it just is. Like that's how much they paid for all these players. Plymouth didn't pay this for these players.
No, I'm just looking at the recent transfers between each other as well. We signed Ashley Smith-Brown off you. I remember. I think he was the one we paid a tenner for.
Did Emile Penza come to Plymouth from City? Yeah. I loved him. I absolutely loved him.
If you don't know the story of Emile Penza's time at Plymouth Argyle, which I'm not sure I'd be allowed to repeat, go and check that out. I'll tell you off air.
I'd love to. I'm keen to. I don't know it. I'm keen to know. Yeah, I love. He kept us up in 2006. I love the guy.
He kept it up as well. Our viewers will.
I think I've just filled in the blanks. Yeah.
I suppose the last thing is you've already mentioned it. Like the FA Cup's the last thing for you to win, so I can imagine does that sort of soften this season for you without trying to sound too spoiled, I suppose, because not like you've had bad recent history, is it?
That's the thing. You can't really turn around and go, God, it's been absolutely awful, this supported City. They've only won 4 of the last 5 titles. And you kind of go, yeah, all right. Yeah, and one of them was part of a treble where they won the European Cup and the FA Cup, where they beat United in the final, scoring a goal after 13 seconds. It's like all of these, like it feels incredible. Yeah, feels incredibly entitled to go, you know what, a year winning nothing is an underachievement. But like the counter argument to that is you set your expectations based on on what they are at the start of the season for like your budget for everything else. And City obviously have one of the most valuable squads. They have obviously built they're one of the best managers. They have the best facilities and the best kind of setup. So this season has been an underperformance, and you kind of have to contextualize it and go, that is okay because of everything else that's gone on, but you have to make sure it doesn't last too long. And like if you're planning to keep like building the squad with the kind of the expense that City have done, you can't keep kind of saying, well, next year it'll be all right and next year it'll be all right. And they kind of slipped into doing that a little bit in the end of Manuel Pellegrini's time at City. And under Guardiola, that's never happened. So you've kind of got 8 years there where City have been largely successful. The 2019-20 season, it was an underperformance, but they still finished second and they still won the League Cup. So there's still plenty of teams out there who would bite your hand off for finishing second in the Premier League, for like even making a Wembley semi-final, let alone a Wembley final. So you kind of have to take the rough with the smooth. You have to accept that, you've not been good enough this season. Go away, fix the problems, come back next year, sort it out. I can't speak for all City fans. I don't really personally care whether they go a season without silverware or whether they win the FA Cup. It doesn't without sounding too up my own backside. I'm kind of like, I need to see that City are there and they're competitive, and they haven't been competitive this season. That's the biggest disappointment. It's not that they got knocked out of the Champions League. It's not that they got knocked out of the League Cup. It's not that they're not going to win the title, or they may not win the FA Cup. It's that they haven't competed, and that hasn't been good enough. If next season, if they don't win anything this year, and then next season they win nothing again, but they're competitive in all the competitions, that's fine. It happens. Sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. Sometimes a deflection knocks you out of a cup. It happens. You have to kind of hit your level, and for large parts of this season, City haven't hit the level, and that's what I'm disappointed with.
Yeah, for sure. Two last questions. One of them being score prediction.
I hate doing these because you can only ever look bad, and it feels awful because I'm a guest on your show, and I'm going to say that I think that the Premier League team should 99 times in 100 win this game quite comfortably. The problem is that when you make that prediction, sometimes the 1 in 100 happens, and then then people kind of come back at you and go, look what you said on this video, you were wrong, weren't you? I was like, yes, because I'm not clairvoyant, that's why. That's why I got it wrong. So with all of that caveated, I think City should put out a strong team. They should be strong enough to get through this game. It might not be an easy progression. I'm gonna say you went 3-1 on our podcast. I'm going to be brave and go 4-1 City.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, you've given away mine. I've gone 3-1 Manchester City. Unfortunately, I think maybe we've knocked out one or two too many Premier League. So
it's funny. It's weird as well though, because like I don't know if Brentford, for instance, are like comfortable being the bad guys, whereas like City these days, because the resources City have had for so long and the dominance that City have had at the top of the table, there's not an FA Cup draw where City are the good guys. City are always the bad guys. The general public wants City to lose, and I don't know if Brentford were ready for that when Plymouth came to town, because everyone watching that game was going, I hope Plymouth knock these out, that'll be great. And then it happened, and then Liverpool, the same thing happened again, and now City, we're going, well, we're obviously the bad guys. Let's hope that for once evil triumphs.
If you break my heart on Saturday, I'll never forgive you. Come to terms with this one. I think. And then just finally, where can people find you and your output?
Yeah, just search Blue Moon Podcast. You'll find it. It's people. I always find people go, "Oh, are you on Apple?" I was like, "Yeah, because we're a podcast. Most podcasts are. Are you on Spotify? Yeah. Just search for it. It's like you'll find it. So just stick Blue Moon Podcast into.
Just search it. Just go on Google.
Just search it and you'll find it. We have the website bluemoonpodcast.com, which should have all of our archive of interviews in. Except every time I upload them, it breaks the website. So I've not quite worked that out yet. But they'll go on there at some point.
Well, something's happening with our Acast at the moment where I'm setting it to go live, and then people are messaging me 2 days later being like, "Is this going up as a podcast?" That's fun. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, brilliant. But
nobody ever thinks of the podcasters, do they?
No, they don't. Not in the middle of a house move either. That's a nightmare. It's the last thing I need to be doing. On speaking to a chat bot on Acast's site. But that's enough chat around that, I think. But no, appreciate your time. Thank you, David.
Anytime. Thank you very much.
I would say best of luck for whatever that we normally say, but your Man City.
No, nobody ever means it. It's absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. Nobody means it.
Nice. Cheers, mate.